So the migrant issue in Africa reaches new highs, or should that be new lows? Well, joining me from the Association of African-Owned Businesses is Douglas Pollyn. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We won't even begin to talk about the economic impact of all of this, which would be right up your street. But, I mean, the point here really is that you've got this tremendous influx of refugees. They're passing through a country like Niger, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it.
Yes, Charles, I think that's partly true, and I think it's because of the scale of the movement of people.
Well, the problem, isn't it, is that the Nigerians are turning it into a business. I mean, that there is this widespread corruption in Niger. I mean, those people are being used to make money, and therefore Niger is fast becoming a conduit, a transit point for people wanting to move on to Libya and then on to
Europe.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the Nigerians are benefiting from it, and possibly that leads to lead one to believe that they encourage it because it's good for the local economy. You've got foreigners coming in, bringing money. I mean, they don't see the wider impact it's having because many of these communities are rural communities who, and they don't have access to the kind of information you expect people in more developed countries to have. So they see it as business coming in, and the rest of the world is paying the price for that. So I think, in a sense, they see it as a good thing, while, like, possibly we see it as something that will have, like, a negative economic impact.
But can you really blame the people of Niger?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I mean, they're not the ones who started the conflict or the, economic situation in those other countries. But of course, when these people finally get to Europe, many of them are in Italy at the moment. The French are arguing that according to the law, migrants should seek asylum in the first country in which they land. And therefore, Paris is perfectly within its rights to close France's borders to such people. What is your reaction to that? Because what you're having on the border with, between Italy and France is an unfolding crisis there.
I think the French are right. I mean, going by the letter of the law. But I think going by the spirit of the law, they are wrong because you can't ask one country to absorb the number of migrants coming in from across the Mediterranean. It's completely impossible, especially given how vulnerable the Italian economy is at the moment. And you don't expect them to take in all the migrants coming. I mean, just to paint a picture here, you're talking about movement of people over 2014, 59-point-something million people. And a huge number of those people. Last year, Europe recorded 6.7 million people. Like, that's what's been expected to come to Europe. That's a big number. That can alter the population of Italy if they are left to handle it alone. So I don't think it's fair to just say, you know what?
Why do you think the numbers are going up?
Conflict. A lot of this movement has been caused by conflict around Africa. You've got the situation in Nigeria, you've got the situation in Libya, you've got even the Syrian situation as well. So I think this movement has been prompted by conflict. The world really needs to sit back and look at how conflicts are being dealt with. Something has to be done.
Well, that's a very good point.
At the roots,
because part of the problem, and I think the UNHCR spokesman was saying that today, part of the problem is that people are simply not aware of the global risks that's associated with conflict situations, but see it as a problem of the country where the conflict is taking place. And so they don't seem to see the link. And the problem is that there is a widening interrelation between all of this. So conflict in Nigeria is linked to conflict in Mali, which is linked to conflict in Libya, which is linked to conflict in Syria, which is linked to conflict in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And until you begin to see that and see the global risk associated with it, nobody's going to do anything about it.
Yeah, I think one key thing to point out here is this conflict is not between two countries. So you've got these terror groups that have come taking control of territories, which is unprecedented, and they're carrying out all the evil they are carrying out. I mean, and it's not a trend you can isolate to one country. You can't say, oh, it's happening in Nigeria, therefore the people in Ghana are safe. I mean, that's not the way it is anymore.
So we know that we've done the analysis. We know what the problem is. What is the solution? Is it to put pressure on countries that have influence on those areas and those regions? I mean, to get them to stop it? What do you do?
I think what needs to happen is this. You'd expect corporate will. I mean, in terms of countries coming together, like the AU sitting down around the table and saying, you know what, we'll kill Boko Haram for good. And that's what needs to happen, because you have a situation where, for example, in Nigeria, Nigerian government had been struggling for several years with Boko Haram. If they had come together, maybe even the ECOWAS region, and said, you know what, Boko Haram has to die because it's a problem for the wider region.
Yeah,
and then deal with it like once and for all.
I agree, but of course, all this, the reason we're discussing this is because of the migrant question, the people moving to Europe, escaping from those conflicts, and very little of them, not that many are coming because of Boko Haram. But the question must be, those ones that are on European soil, what do you do with them? Should Italy, for example, increase its screening capacity so that it's able to detect those who are true asylum seekers and those who are economic migrants, and be able to weed them out and send them back to their countries?
That's a very difficult. It would be a very difficult thing to do. I mean, to be able to fully achieve that, you have to be able to read people's minds. I mean, someone shows up at your doorstep from a boat. You have completely no history about them. You don't know who they are, where they've been. You don't know why they are here. I mean, what would it come down to, just looking at the person's face and saying you look like an economic migrant, like we turn you back? I mean, it's going to be a very difficult thing to do. I think the solution to this problem is actually helping the countries where you've got the crisis, deal with this crisis. If not, it's not going to stop, because as long as there's crisis in Libya, people are going to run away. And where are they going to run away to? To the place where they feel the safest. And unfortunately, that's Italy, that's Greece. So you need to deal with the problem at source. Okay. You need to go back to Libya, to Nigeria, and to Syria as well to deal with this problem.
Douglas Pollyn.
That's the best way to go.
Thank you very much indeed.